All right. So for the podcast current event assignment, you have this open in your Nearpod, but let me just kind of break it down for you. All right. So in a moment, you will all be responsible for going to the AJC website. You have to pick a current event from the AJC website that relates to our class, directly to our class. Okay. But this worksheet right here is really going to kind of break down how to make a podcast. So podcasts are very popular right now. There's a lot of people getting syndicated, radio shows, making a lot of money by just doing a podcast on what they think. Okay. Like one student kind of told me earlier that this is an outlet for you to make a lot of money because there's not very many current events, particularly done by teenagers, and that could be an outlet to make some money. So kind of teach you guys a way of communication. So the first part you guys gonna have to do is listen to 3 different podcasts and recordings, anything of your choice. So you're gonna do 3. I'm gonna tell you what the podcast title was, and then also any kind of text features as far as what you learned. It can be on any 3 topics. It doesn't have to do with anything got to do with school. It can be on sports. It could be on gaming. It could be on sneakers. I don't really care. Just listen to the podcast. At the same token, the podcasts that you listen to do not have to be very long ones. You have some podcasts that are literally only 3 minutes. You have some that are like 2 hours. You can find podcasts on YouTube. You can find them on Facebook. You can find them in the iTunes store. You can find them on Amazon Music. There's a litany of places to do. Find it on Pandora. It's a litany of places where you can find podcasts. All I'm asking you to do is listen to 3 of your choice. Is everybody got me on that? And of course, to understand a podcast, you need to listen to one. And does anybody already have any podcasts they listen to? You listen to some, Angel? Anybody online? What's your question? Yeah, when I say here text features, what I really say, so what are the different text features they include? As far as like how are they displaying? Are they have any text on their podcast? Is it only all verbal? But more importantly, what I want you guys to do there with the text features, something I actually really want to change. I just want you to tell me what is the podcast about and what did you learn from the podcast? Was it a good podcast? Was it a bad podcast? Did it just have horrible volume? Like you see what I'm saying, like stuff like that. So just give me the summary and the feedback that you got from your podcast. Okay. That's the first thing you're going to do. Okay. Next thing you're going to do is this the breakdown of the actual project itself. So, let me get Simi. Can you go ahead and read this for us, please?
Create a 3 to 5 minute episode that will be published on our cast podcast. Your episode will be focused on current event or issues. In your episode, you need to explain event/issue, give your opinion on the event/issue, include at least one interview regarding the event/issue.
Okay. All right. So again, it's only 3 to 5 minutes. Now, if you get everything I'm showing you in this assignment done in 3 minutes, less than 3 minutes, fine. Is there got me on that? I don't see that as possible. But it cannot be more than 5 minutes. Is that clear there? And you can record it using I'm gonna show you different apps in a second. If you can just take out your phone and you type in podcast, you'll see different podcasts come up. Also, as far as podcast creation, there's a ton of different things to do. But at minimum, just log into CTLS and record yourself on CTLS, okay? That's what you can do as well, and that'd be totally fine, okay? So I'm not asking you guys, because not everybody has the same technological abilities, but you just go into the software we're using for our school, that's fine too, okay? You have to make sure you explain your event or your issue, and more specifically, you gotta make sure you explain how that event and issue is related to our class, right? So right now we talk about ethnic studies. I'll teach U.S. history, talk about U.S. history, world history. If I was talking about my sociology class I teach, whatever your classes you're taking me with, that's what I refer to. How does your event relate to this class? If you pick an event that has no kind of correlation to our class, you're gonna be asked at the best case scenario to redo it. Is everybody got me on that? But it has to relate to our class. In a minute, you guys will be able to pick your current event. You have to give your opinion on your current event. So I want to hear your thoughts on it. And then also give me at least one interview. So you can interview your friend, boyfriend, girlfriend, mama, daddy. It don't matter. I just got to interview at least one person. They got to be open-ended questions, not just a yes or no question. I want you to have someone else give their opinion on the topic as well. Does everybody got me on that? But again, stay within that 3 to 5 minute interview. 3 to 5 minute podcast. Yes, sir. It can be up to you. Now, I want to see you as a narrator. I want to see your face. So I need to see the student face. Now, the other person you interview is up to them. If they feel comfortable, that's fine. Anytime I interview people, I always give them alias names. So if I show them the face, that's one thing I never get a name after. So I'll call you, I've done interviews, Mr. J, whatever it's going to be, Flagman, whatever, but I never give the actual name to that person. And I would suggest you do the same. Do not use whoever you interview's real name. Don't say this is my mom. Does everybody got me on that? Say, make up something, okay? Now, as far as seeing them, I don't care about seeing is you. As long as I see you throughout the whole podcast, we're good. All right? So the process, we're going to do this. We're going to generate ideas. We're going to write a script. We'll talk about recording and interviewing, talk about editing, and I'm also going to give you guys the publishing and also the rubric that I'll be grading you off of as well. All right, so general ideas. This is what I want everybody to do right now. Let's take about 60 seconds without looking on the internet, okay? Just jot down anything that you know of right now. So if everybody's looking at their sheet, you guys have this sheet out right now. Now, for my virtual students, if you guys have this stuff, because you're virtual, you can do all this on a piece of paper if you want to. You can print it out if you want to. It's all in CTLS, whatever you want to do. For face-to-face, just write on here, okay? Go ahead and I'm giving you 60 seconds. Jot down some current events that you know of, okay? Don't necessarily got to relate to our class right now, but just kind of give me a brainstorm idea. What's some current events you know of right now? All right, give you 1 minute on the clock. And again, face-to-face, just go ahead and use this paper here. Virtual, use whatever you want to write on. All right. You got 1 minute, ladies and gentlemen. A couple more seconds left. Again, you can just write this on anything you have. All right. That's our 1 minute. Where's my timer? Okay. Stop. All right. Anybody want to share a current event they got down on a piece of paper? I'm going to call on 4 people. So 4 people is going one way or another. Go ahead, Angel. Okay, COVID in Europe and how they're dealing with COVID. India, okay, better. COVID in India and how they're dealing with it. You can definitely relate that to the class. That's an ethnic group, okay? Anybody else? As long as it's in the day's newspaper. Anybody else? All right, Given, what do you have?
It doesn't technically relate to the class, but I heard there were like a lot of mass shootings this weekend, and that's something that's been going on.
You can relate that to the class, definitely could, but that's fine. And again, these current events don't have to be something in class right now. I want y'all to start thinking. Tony, do you have a current event for us? Let me pull back up my roster here. It's not what I wanted to pick. Nothing, Tony? Okay. Okay. All right. John Akamai, you guys got a current event? Police what? police customs, like their techniques in different parts of the world? Okay, cool. And then let me get one more person virtual. Does anybody want to volunteer, or do I need to call on somebody? Okay, let me call on. Well, I want to try to get 2-4 different people to kind of get some ideas. Mr. Banks, what kind of current event do you have?
I'm still thinking.
Okay. DeMarcus, what about you? What kind of current event did you come up with?
I choose the Black Lives Matter. Also the immigration too.
So about immigration issues and Black Lives Matter. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, so those are some ideas. So for people that's thinking, those are some ideas. Now, those are all good as long as they're in the newspaper for today. Okay. So again, make sure everybody understands. You have to pick an event that's in the newspaper. And I have today's newspaper downloaded already. And when I grade this, I'll be cross-checking to make sure it was in the newspaper. So you can't go to CNN, you can't go Googling it. You gotta do something in the newspaper today. Let's keep talking about this project. All right. So the planning piece. So today you guys want to pick an event or an issue. And then is there a narrator? You're gonna be the narrator. Is everybody got me on that? Okay, so you're gonna be a narrator. We're gonna talk about your role as being a narrator. Will you interview anyone? Again, everybody is required to interview how many people at least? You're required to interview at least one person. So everybody's gonna have to have at least one person interview. You might want to put on here once you pick your event, who you might want to interview. Think about your time. If you know someone is long-winded, be ready to cut them off, okay? So your whole podcast can almost be an interview. Is everybody got me on that? You introduce the podcast, have a little bit of background on it, give your opinion, introduce your interviewee. That person can take 3 minutes, you're done. You didn't do any work really. You let that person talk for you, and that's totally fine. That means you allow your interviewee be the subject and not you. Go ahead. Yeah, you can have a dialogue. You can definitely have a dialogue. And in a second, I'm actually going to show you where I'm going to have you list questions out, just to ensure you have that dialogue. Okay. All right. The next thing you're going to have here is going to be, what would you like people to learn or understand? So when you go listen to other people's podcasts, and one thing you should notice is that everybody got a point to go, right? Something they want people to understand or know. If you don't have a point to go to your podcast, why are you doing it? Do I got me on that? And then the last question here is going to be what the podcast includes: sound, effects, or music. So it's up to you. When I was going to do my podcast, again, I was going to start one, then COVID hit, and it just kind of died. And I still think about it, but both me and the other guy, it's not going to happen right now. But we're going to have an introduction music. We're going to have a music between like the interview and stuff like that. We're going to basically make it like a radio show. So you got to think about the kind of music you're going to have for that. So you need to complete this, the planning sheet. And then you have to have a script. So I started you off with the script as far as the voice narration. That's 30 seconds where you're going to introduce yourself to the podcast and to your, to your audience. That's 30 seconds going right there. You fill out the rest for the next 3 to 5 minutes. So you put it in approximately how long is it going to be. Go ahead. Yeah, so that I'm gonna talk about that one. The next thing actually is gonna be an interview. That's the next sheet. So yeah, you have to plan, you gotta write your script out, and then let's go to the interview. Okay. So for the interview, you will need to conduct one or more interviews to include on your episode. You can have more than one, okay? You will need to record your interview on your phone or with a microphone, meaning how you got the voice recorder? You can use that. Just make sure you turn it up to where your voice is, you can just interview the person. With that being said, the person doesn't have to be on video. It can be voice recorded and you can edit it as you want to, okay? But it's totally up to you how you want to do it. You want to do it on video? That's fine too. You can use Zoom, you can use 1,000 different things to record, even just your very old phone, and then you just edit into the whole podcast if you want to. A good interview depends on having good questions. Write down your questions below on this sheet here. Make sure they are open-ended, thought-provoking questions. If they can say yes or no to it, that's not a good question. And you will be graded down from that. Is everybody got me on that? It got to be something that starts a conversation, starts a dialogue. I have here 9 spots, but you can only get through one, and that's fine. You want to have the backup in coinciding questions to go to that. And this also shows me that you understand your topic and how that relates to your class. Is everybody got me on that? I want to see the intrusion of what I've taught you over this last semester in this podcast. I want to say, yes, you took this class and you got something from it. Is everybody got me on that? That's why it's a big grade, because this is where you get to show me what you learned. Any questions so far? All right, let's go to editing and publishing. This will be the most time-consuming part. And let me say this again. I am teaching y'all a skill here. I'm teaching you how to make a podcast or a radio show. If you wanted to get your own radio show or do anything like that, you have to have all this stuff before you give it to your disc jockey. That way they know the time and everything like that, and everything can be done professionally done. Do I got me on that? I'm teaching you that right here. Editing, publishing, you want to make sure you fix any kind of mistakes, trim extra audio that's needed, fix the volume, make sure everything is good, add music or sound effects, and then arrange tracks in a logical order. A lot of stuff is being done even more so nowadays because of the way we're doing a lot more digital learning. But you guys can use apps, like I said, GarageBand if you have an Apple, Audio City to edit your episodes. You can use YouTube. You can upload a whole video to YouTube and edit it just on YouTube as well. There's other things you can use that's free. I'm not telling nobody to go buy nothing, but you have a lot of free stuff you can use and stuff you probably don't even know you had on your computers or even cell phones. And again, if I go and I have an Android, just because I really don't like iPhones, but I'm gonna just do this real quick just because I'm curious myself. I'm gonna go to my App Store, type in podcast. The first thing that's gonna come up will be a lot of places where you can listen to Comcast. I mean, not Comcast, podcast. But then you also can do things where they have something like, hey, you can listen to podcasts on Spotify too, just so you know. And I know a lot, and we're gonna be using Spotify later on. But you also can make podcasts. So make your own podcast using Anchor. There you go, right there. Got a 4.3 rating. Not horrible when you look by app. So you can do that as well. Do I got me on that? And again, the minimum, just use CTLS. You go by your day. Okay. All right. The assessment. This is what I'm grading you on. So everything's on a scale of 1 to 4. 1 being beginning and then a 4 being meeting. So everybody should be able to at least get some kind of points. When you look at this, planning. Are the planning pages completed in detail? Like you just have one word. Does it look? In other words, this is what I'm saying. Does it look like you did this? So this is going to be due on Wednesday, 11:59. Okay. This Wednesday, 11:59. Does it look like you did this Wednesday at 11 o'clock? Or did you use the 2 class times I'm about to give you and did your work? Does everybody got me on that? Also, I'm looking at notes as far as what you guys are doing in class right now. So that's what I'm looking at. Script. Is the script complete, detailed, and insightful and effective? Does it look like you did this realistically, okay? And then more importantly, in your recording, did you follow your scripts? Your interviews, are they clear? Is it clear recording? Are they effective and thought-provoking questions being given? And then the editing and publishing, is it clear sound quality? So don't have your brother and sister in the background. Everybody got me on that? If you're doing it here in the classroom, know the bells are gonna come. So if you might want to wait until a bell hits and then go and do it on wait to make sure you're clear of that. Is there smooth editing? Does everything kind of flow together? Do you have an interview? Do you have narration? And do you have sounds? Now, every podcast doesn't have to have a sound unless you want it to be there. Did I got me on that? But I still want to hear you as being the narrator. And then I'll leave any kind of comments there at the bottom. So this whole worksheet here, face-to-face, I'm going to take this from you on Thursday. Everybody got me on that? For virtual students, you have to upload yours to CTLS in this case. Does anybody have any questions about the podcast assignment before we start picking our current events? Yes, sir. Yes, I'm gonna give you guys my login to go in and pull out the whole digital version of today's newspaper. So it's all 47 pages, you get to pick up whatever you want. And most people never get past the first 2 pages, which is the idea of the newspaper. But it has to be from that day's newspaper, which I'll give y'all access to momentarily. Any other questions?
Do we have to, so we don't have to have music?
You don't have to have music unless you want to.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't have to unless you want to. I would not show, now this is what I'm saying, a very good podcast I think is just excellently done. I'm going to post on my blog for example for other students, but if you want to show it to the class, you can. I might give you some extra points for it, but I am not planning right now to show anybody's podcast to the whole class. Does it make sense to everybody? And then I'll talk to you before I post it on my blog too. But if I actually put it on my blog, that means I think you did a darn good job. I'm not gonna put any kind of half, you know what, work on my blog and say, here's a good example. So I don't have any student examples, no. But I also want you guys to have a little freedom.
Also, if we record it on CTLS, so we have to show ourselves, but not the guest person speaker?
Yeah, I want to see you as a narrator no matter what.
Okay.
Excuse me, but your guest speaker, no. I don't have to see that person.
All right, thank you.
Unless they cool being seen. Now, if they cool being seen, let them show off. You know, it's amazing what people do when they get in front of a camera. But like I said a moment ago, give them an alias. No matter what, do not give their first name. Okay? And again, you guys can use Zoom too because, I mean, you can get a free account. And I think you guys already have Zoom accounts, don't you, now with school? Okay. Any other questions? Going once? Go. Yes, you turn that packet in. So this was going on. Face-to-face is bringing me this packet on Thursday. Virtual students submit 11:59 on Wednesday. If you think you might not be here on Thursday, I suggest you submit everything online Wednesday, okay? Because I am not taking it late. But everybody has to submit their video, of course, on CTLS as well. So make sure you give me a link to it. Any other questions? Excellent.